Eudoxus' most lasting contribution was in mathematics. Because of the Pythagorean proof of irrational numbers, the Greeks didn't believe in numbers as the unified theory of the universe. Eudoxus fixed that. He came up with a lot of generalizations of proportions. Book 5 of Euclid's Elements, on proportions was written by him. He talks about a lot more than the easy A, B equals C, D. For Instanacci, he comes up with ma n b equals mic n d. Or, how about a transitive proportions, A, B equals C, D, C, D equals E, F, therefore A, B equals E, F. He does a kind of inequalities proportions, like these symbols and LT, and GT. Or, there's A equals B, B equals C equals D, D, and, he actually kind of comes up with a Dedekind cut. He defined irrational numbers with proportions. But, he also made this concentric spheres model of planetary motions. Eudoxus was supposedly taught by Archytas. Archytas does this really elaborate geometric figures intersection construct. He did so to solve the duplication of the cube problem. As Thomas Heath says, Eudoxus was influenced to make his concentric spheres theory based on Archytas' intersection of various surfaces. Cleomedes was a follower of Eudoxus. He improved the Eudoxus system a little bit, but he appears to have made a greater discovery, atmospheric refraction. Cleomedes notes that earlier astronomers noticed some odd lunar eclipses. Some of them occurred while the sun was still up. How can this be? Cleomedes' answer, atmospheric refraction. After Eudoxus's time, Heraclides observed that Mercury and Venus follow the Sun, while Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn do not. Aristarchus of Samos did think of the heliocentric model of the solar system. But a certain great mathematician, Archimedes, laughed him off the stage. Archimedes, in his Sand Reckoner, which otherwise is an amazing intellectual accomplishment. You'd have to see it to believe it, says that, if Aristarchus of Samos was right, then the stars would have to be ridiculously far away. Euclid wrote on a lot more than the elements. He wrote on optics, mirrors, and some other works. In his spherical geometry book, he derives the sphericity of the earth and the heavens by risings, settings, and great circles. Great circles are when their radius, diameter goes through the center. Because of this property, all great circles bisect one another. Euclid observed, or got from someone else, not said, that because of the way the zodiacal constellations are divided into 6 at a time and other such astronomical observations about risings and settings, that various circular patterns in the sky are great circles, hence, the Earth and the circle the stars rotate on must be circular. Eratosthenes calculated the circumference of the Earth. He first noted that Styx cast no shadows on June 21. He then found that elsewhere, at the same time, Styx do cast shadows. Hence, another observational proof that the Earth is circular. He then figured out how to calculate the size the Earth from such considerations. The angle of the stick with no shadows, and the stick with shadows that he did physically measure was 7 degrees. 7 degrees is 1/50th of 360 degrees of the circle. He knew the distance between Alexandria, where he was, and Styx cast no shadows on the 21st of June, and Syene was 800 kilometers. 800 times 50 is 40,000 kilometers. Eratosthenes made a poem of the 12 zodiacal constellations. At least according to Sir Thomas Heath, but I have not been able to find it. But I have seen another mythologizing of the 12 zodiacal constellations. The Aratus phenomenon, which mentioned both the Muses and the Meton cycle. I pointed out above about how sacrificial kings tried to get extensions of the time they get to be king before being sacrificed. I mentioned the dial of Ahaz in passing. 2 Kings chapter 20 verse 6 I will add 15 years to your life. If you add 4 years, then he rules for 19 years before being sacrificed. The Meton cycle is when the moon's cycles and the sun's coincide every 19 years. Diodorus Siculus, Book 2 47.6 says their god Apollo comes around every 19 years, and that this is when the stars align, and they call it the Meton cycle. Well, Robert Graves, in his The Greek Myths, shows that the Greek kings eventually got an extension on the time they rule based on the Meton cycle. And, if you believe that the 15 years is added to a previous 4 years for the king in 2 Kings chapter 20 verse 6, then that's also more proof of the sacrificial kings in Sir James Fraser's The Golden Bough, and the extensions they'd make. It should be further noted that the Antikythera mechanism is based on the Meton cycle. I mention the Aratus phenomenon because it's a mythologizing of the 12 zodiacal constellations. I've proved many times that the 12 zodiacal constellations get personified. Where else do we see 12 followers? Jesus Christ. More proof that the 12 zodiacal constellations get personified long before Jesus Christ. Herodotus's Histories, Book 2, he relates, the Egyptians, they said, were the first to discover the solar year, and to portion out its course into 12 parts. The Egyptians, they went on to affirm, first brought into use the names of the 12 gods, which the Greeks adopted from them. Herodotus further states, in 246 that the 8 gods came before the 12 gods. We've seen that the mythology changes when the astronomical knowledge advances. We've seen the extensions from 2 to 3, and then 4 seasons. Here we see that they thought there was just 8 constellations, and just had 8 gods. Then, they figured out there was 12 constellations, so, they made 12 gods. 12 gods personifying the 12 zodiacal constellations. This is a BC time sculpture of goddess Thetis, surrounded by the zodiacal constellations. Here's another god, Mithras, surrounded with the 12 zodiacal constellations. And here's Horus with his 12 followers. Below is Horus with his mother Isis, kind of like Mary and Jesus. This dates to 700 BC. Clement of Alexandria states the 12 followers of Jesus Christ are a personification of the 12 zodiacal constellations. Excerpt ex Theodotus, 25.2. He, Valentinus, says the apostles were substituted for the 12 signs of the zodiac, for, as birth is directed by them, so is rebirth by the apostles. And, Clementine Hamali, 223, and as the Lord had 12 apostles, bearing the number of the 12 months of the sun, Clement of Alexandria's exhortation to the heathen, uses a Malachi 4.2 quote to say that Jesus Christ is a sun god. Chap. 11. How great are the benefits conferred on man through the advent of For the Son of Righteousness, who drives his chariot over all, pervades equally all humanity, like his Father, who makes his sun to rise on all men. The Malachi 4.2 quote, But for you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings, the Son of God is the Son of God. More proof the 12 followers of Jesus Christ are a mythological personification of the 12 zodiacal constellations is Mark chapter 3 verse 17 passage, and James the son of Zebedee, and John the brother of James, and he surnamed them Boanerges, which is, the sons of thunder. Castor and Polydeuces are the sons of thunder, Zeus's boys. James and John, here, are a personification of Castor and Polydeuces.